Well, I think we could all agree that free agency has been off to a interesting start. I mean, the Ravens alone, after sabotaging Max Crosby's trade value, after tampering it already started.
Right now, we are having...
Talk louder.
Our prices have never been lower.
Son, you have to talk louder.
Never been lower.
Louder, son!
Our prices have never been lower!
Oh, I love football. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Caught it on the first try, Grossi. And today we are going to be doing power rankings post free agency. And you might be saying, Tom, free agency ain't over yet. Well, I'm in New Zealand right now. Well, not right now, because right now it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm recording this in my basement, but when this comes out, I'm going to be recording. So if there's any blockbuster trades that happen and because of that it screws up the power rankings, sorry. Grossi, did I already say that? I don't even remember, but if not, there you go. Then you get my last name. And if I already said it, then you get it twice. But yeah, it's been a pretty crazy start to free agency and wanted to do some power rankings because we usually do it around this time. I have to do it a little bit earlier because I got to go be a hobbit, but it really feels like there have been some shifts in the NFL. I mean, we did see the Max Crosby trade go through, and then we saw the Max Crosby trade fall apart. We saw teams like the Rams going all in and saying, hey, we couldn't get to the Super Bowl last year. We're going to try this year. We saw the Seahawks getting poached for talent and coaches just like every Super Bowl winning team does. Now they know how the Eagles feel. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the draft. For teams like the Dolphins, for example, like they have completely gutted everything. They traded Jalen Waddle today, and they have 11 draft picks heading into April's draft. So we're going to see what the hell is about to happen over these next few months. But what is happening right now is starting to set the scene for what the 2026 NFL season is going to look like. And so before we get into the top 10, we gotta do some honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is actually gonna be for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, while they did lose some big pieces on defense, like McDuffie, for example, I love the fact that they went out and got Kenneth Walker. And I know there's still question marks about the Chiefs, but Travis Kelce is coming back. We'll see how much he's gonna be utilized. But adding Kenneth Walker is going to add an explosiveness that they just did not have last season. The Chiefs have never really been a run-forward team, but with Isaiah Pacheco, especially earlier on in his career, they were able to hand him the rock, and he was just able to angrily run through defensive lines, even if it was only for a few yards. But last year, they just could not get things going. The offense just felt like it was always in a funk. Patrick Mahomes was their leading rusher, and now if Kenneth Walker is able to stay healthy after winning Super Bowl MVP and carrying the load after Zach Charbonnet got injured, yeah, I think that this could give the Chiefs a much-needed boost on offense. So because of that, I got to give the Chiefs some credit here. It's not enough for me to put them in the top 10 just yet because they are in a very competitive division, but that reigning Super Bowl MVP, I think, is definitely going to provide the spark that the Chiefs desperately need. Then our second honorable mention, I got to stick with the AFC West and actually go with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, they have had a very, very interesting offseason. They traded away Max Crosby and got 2 first-round picks, and then the Ravens said never mind, and so they got Max Crosby back. And now, at least as of right this second, it looks like Max Crosby is going to be staying with the Raiders. But in the interim, the Raiders have done a ton during free agency, especially for that defense. Adding guys like Quay Walker, for example, in the middle, I think is going to be a big boost.
A big boo.
On top of that, the biggest move that they possibly could have made was going out and getting Linderbaum as their center. Yes, they paid a premium for him, but that offensive line was atrocious last year. And it really feels like the Raiders are rebuilding, but the pieces that they have, especially on defense and with Crosby returning, that defense could actually be pretty damn good, which we saw a couple of years ago. I think it's all going to come down to what they actually do in the draft. Likely they're going to go after Mendoza with the first overall pick. Who knows if they're going to start him right away? Again, that offensive line is in pretty rough shape, but I just feel like the Raiders are turning a corner, and if they're able to draft well, I think that they'll be able to rebuild sooner rather than later. So because of that, Raiders, I'm putting it in an honorable mention, and let's see how long it takes for you to be in the top 10. Then the other team I gotta give a shout out to for an honorable mention is the Washington Commanders. Similar to the Vegas Raiders, the Commanders, they have been big spenders in free agency. They have also re-signed a ton of folks, like Tunsil just got an extension, for example, and kind of reworking that offense and defense. I know they let some veterans go, but they brought in guys like Owe. I love that signing. On top of that, they brought in guys like Leo Chanel. They brought in Chason from the Patriots, and it really feels like for the Commanders, obviously after a disappointing season last year, that this is really a prove-it year. Jaden Daniels was all banged up last year, and it just feels like they couldn't get things going, and after making to the NFC Championship game the year prior, obviously people are disappointed, but if Jaden Daniels is healthy, I'm really curious to see what that offense is going to look like. We'll also see what they do with the draft, but I like this free agency period a lot better than what they did last year. It just feels like they're making less moves out of desperation and more getting some actual playmakers. But of course, we'll see how this actually translates to on the field, and we'll see what they do in the draft. But as of right now, Wildflower, it's got to be pretty damn happy. And then finally, the last team I gotta give a shout out to is the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers, listen, they shocked the world last year after winning their division. Okay, they won their division, but they still had a losing record. They were able to go toe-to-toe with the Rams in that wild card round, and since they lost that game, yeah, they've been pretty busy in free agency. They've been giving out some major contracts. They went out and got Jalen Phillips, who had a really nice season with the Eagles. I know that sample size is a little bit small, and his contract is very large, but they have needed a pass rusher since, Brian Burns went to the Giants, and like I said, it feels like this contract was meant for Brian Burns, but the cost of the brick, it just keeps on going up. And on top of that, they went out and got Devin Lloyd, and I really like that for their defense. And it feels like the Panthers are in an interesting situation. They're in a very winnable division, but I think the NFC South is going to be pretty competitive next year. Like, for example, I really like what the Saints are doing in free agency after they went out and got Achane, aka ETN, or at least what we were calling him before he corrected us all on how to properly say his name. But you have a young quarterback there in Shuck. But the Panthers, they also have a young quarterback, and I feel like it's going to be now or never for Bryce Young. They're building that support. They even signed former Packer Rasheed Walker to a one-year deal and making that offensive line a little bit better, though I hope Walker has a better season than he did for us last year. But overall, it feels like the Panthers are kind of in this, okay, not win now mode, but they're in a we need to figure out if we have our franchise quarterback right now mode. And so because of that, the Panthers are in an interesting position. They've spent a lot of money, but it was on some premium players. And so because of that, I got to give them a shout out. And before we get into the top 10, I'm just going to get ahead of this. Okay, I'm just going to be very honest. I had the Chicago Bears in the top 10. As of right now, though, I don't have the Bears in the top 10. I'll explain why in a second. And I know Bears fans are going to get all mad at me, but are you really mad at me? Or are you mad about what's going on with your team? Listen, I know they might get a deal done in Arlington Heights, but I still think the Bears should just come home to Gary. I know it's actually Hammond that they would go to, but I'm saving all my Jurassic Park memes in case that goes through. But let me talk about the Bears real quick because I did have them in the top 10. But as I was going through each team and what they did, I felt less and less confident about that because, look, the Bears, they had a great season last year. Not only did they win the NFC North and then win a wild card round game, but then they also went toe-to-toe with Matthew Stafford in the LA Rams, and hell, they could have beaten them in overtime after some insane play from Caleb Williams. Their offensive line was looking good, their run game was looking good, and it just felt like the Bears, at a moment, or the team of destiny to the point where I was panicking that they were going to make the NFC Championship game. But this offseason, there were definitely some surprises for the Bears. Yeah, they lost guys like Edmonds and Brisker and Wright, but the big shocker was Drew Dahlman just retiring at 27 years old when they finally had some stability at center. He's now just gone. And while they did trade away DJ Moore, and I don't think that that's going to be the worst thing for the Bears, I know Bears fans are always going to love DJ Moore because what he did against the Packers, and yeah, all well and good. But it was the least productive year of his career. So I don't think that's going to be a detriment to the team. I'm not really worried about that. Where I am worried is that Drew Dahlman is no longer there. And now this is going to be the third starting center for Caleb Williams. That's where I have a little bit of concern. Now, they did make a trade and went and got Garrett Bradbury, and I think he's going to be just fine. But after the stability of Dahlman, I just have my concerns. And so because of that, I can't in good faith put the Bears in the top 10. I think they're just outside it right now. Then we'll see what they decide to do in the draft. They've been drafting pretty damn well, and if that continues, then yeah, I'll eat my words. But as of right now, in March, they're just outside the top 10. So starting with number 10, there's going to be no controversy here. You got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. No bias. And if it makes you feel better, I had them higher, but then I was going through some other teams. I was like, I think they had a better offseason. The Packers, they've had kind of an uneventful offseason in which, yeah, they lost some pieces like Elton Jenkins, but he did not really play very well these past few seasons, so it made sense for him to walk. Same thing with Rasheed Walker. Speaking of walkers, Quay Walker went out and got paid by the Raiders. The Packers were never going to pay him. Malik Willis signing with the Dolphins. And of course, Romeo Doubs going on over to the Patriots for a big-time contract. And at least Packers fans know that Romeo Doubs is in a better place too now.
You'll always be with me, and you'll always be my brother.
And I recorded a whole video about the Packers post-free agency, which I don't know if it's coming out before or after this video. So you may have seen it already, and if not, you will. But the Packers didn't make a whole lot of waves. They cleared a whole bunch of cap space. They traded away Rashawn Gary and got a 4th-round pick. They brought in St. Juste as a corner. We'll see if he's going to actually be a starter, but he had a really nice season with the Chargers last year after not doing a whole lot with the Commanders. They also brought in Javon Hargrave on that defensive line, and he really didn't have a great season with the Vikings, so I'm a little bit weary there, but the Packers, they needed some defensive line help. The reason why I'm a little high on the Packers right now is honestly just because they're going to be healthier than they were last year, and they are getting back some major players. Getting back Zach Tom, Micah Parsons, Tucker Kraft, and Devontae Wyatt, that completely changes the complexion of both our offense and our defense. And when those guys were on the field together, the Packers felt like Super Bowl contenders. And even when guys like Tucker Kraft went down, going into that Denver game before the catastrophic losses that they had of Watson and Tom and Parsons, they were still doing really damn well. And it just feels like the Packers definitely need to address some areas, whether it's corner or defensive line or offensive line depth, but it feels like the Packers are just going to be a much better squad this year if everybody can stay healthy. And so because of that, I'm going to put them at number 10 because I think their potential is through the roof. I still think they're going to be contenders. We'll see what they do in the draft with pick number 52, as they do not have a 1st-round pick this year. But as of right now, even though they're not doing a whole lot in free agency, I think the core group is good. Jordan Love played really well last year. And so because of that, the Pack come in at number 10. Number 9, you got the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, they've had quite the interesting free agency. Again, as of right now, Trent Williams has not been traded. I know that he is annoyed about what's going on, wants another contract. And if Trent Williams gets traded, the 49ers are dropping out of the top 10 because I would be very, very concerned about their O-line. I kind of already am, but I'd be really concerned if Trent Williams goes. But after letting Juwan Jennings walk out the door and all that Brandon Ayuk drama, I think it's fair to say that the 49ers are really counting on Mike Evans and Ricky Pearsall.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Which, by the way, they got Mike Evans, which I absolutely love for the 49ers. Hate as a Packers fan, but love this for the 49ers. Giving Brock Purdy a big-bodied target in the end zone to go along with guys like George Kittle, yeah, I think that's going to work out pretty damn well. If Mike Evans is able to stay healthy, which is a big if because he is getting a little bit older, and the substation, I think that's going to be a great weapon for an already really potent 49ers offense.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
My concerns still lie with the defense, but they're another team that is going to get healthier and better. They're going to get Bosa and Warner back, which I think is already going to make that defense significantly better. But on top of that, they brought back Dre Greenlaw. We'll see if he can stay healthy. Odigbowosu, they got from the Cowboys. I really like that acquisition. And even on offense, they added to the offensive line, and they went out and got Christian Kirk as well. And it just feels like the 49ers, again, getting healthier, are already going to be more competitive. And where they were lacking last year, which was defense because of all those injuries. And if that defense is able just to rise up to the level of where the 49ers offense was last year, or at least just be better, the 49ers are going to be contenders in a very tough and competitive division. So because of that, I'm putting the 49ers at number 9. I think you can make an argument that they could even go higher than that because they're going to be getting back Fred Warner and Bosa. But as of right now, they're sticking at number 9. And if they destroy the substation, maybe they go up to 5. Number 8, You got the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers made some upgrades on their offensive line, getting Pipkins, getting Cole Strange, getting Biadish, and it seems like they're finally listening to good old Justin Herbert.
Back with another milk. Help! Help! Help me!
But let's talk about the Chargers. Yes, they lost some pieces like Oweh and Keenan Allen, but they're yet another team that just getting healthier should be much better, specifically on that offensive line. Getting back Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, I think, is just night and day for what that offense was. Justin Herbert was under siege last year. You saw it throughout the season. You definitely saw it in the playoffs going up against the New England Patriots. And it just feels like with a healthy O-line, a good run game with Omari and Hampton, yeah, the Chargers are poised to potentially take a step next year. I know they're going to be in a very competitive division, and I know they lost Oweh, but I feel like that defense should still be pretty good. We'll see how they do without Jesse Minter, but they just feel like a balanced football team, and if they're able to stay healthy, I know that I've been burned by the Chargers before, but then again, so have their fans almost every single year. This year might just feel different if everything goes well and everyone can remain on the field. Herbert had a good season last year. Hampton did really well when he was healthy, and Vidal even was able to step in when needed. And while they do have to go up against tough defenses like the Broncos, they also have a really good defense, and while teams like the Raiders and Chiefs are adding to their squad, I feel like the Chargers could win the AFC West next year. Again, we'll see what they do in the draft and all that, and I've been high on the Chargers before, but I just feel like they're going to be a really damn good team, but I'm tempering my expectations. I'm putting them at number 8. Please stay healthy. And who knows, maybe Chargers fans won't be crying at the end of the season for once. Number 7, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars, listen, they went through some struggles last year. You had Travis Hunter, who got injured. On top of that, their receivers couldn't catch footballs for a while. Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing well. But then near the end of the season, you started to see some momentum. Things started to get better bit by bit. Trevor Lawrence was playing incredibly well, and they went toe-to-toe with the Bills in the wild card round. And while I thought the Jaguars would go a lot further last season, I still got to give them a lot of credit for turning the ship around mid-season. They seem to have found their coach in Liam Cohen, which I absolutely love for Trevor Lawrence. And right now, the only downside for the Jaguars is that they're letting a bunch of their free agents walk, but I guess they're getting a bunch of comp picks.
I declare bankruptcy!
Not only do they lose Devin Lloyd, but they also lost Travis Etienne as well to the Saints, and that one I don't feel super good about because I really liked when Etienne was on the Jaguars. I was calling him ETN about a month ago, but I really liked when he was on the Jaguars. I think when he was at the top of his game, he was a good receiver, he was a good running back, and now it's all going to fall on Tootin in that backfield, so we'll see how he's going to be able to grow in that RB1 position. But the Jaguars improved in a number of areas last year. Their offense got better, their defense got better. I mean, their defense was really, really bad a couple of seasons ago, so really can only go up from there. And as I mentioned, Travis Hunter should return from injury, and I hope they stick him in the secondary because that's where they need all of that help. And of course, we'll see what they do in the draft. But the Jaguars right now, I feel like they're in a really good spot and also in a division that is trying to figure it out. I think their biggest competition is going to be the Texans, though I do think the Titans got a lot better in free agency and add a ton of pieces to that defense. And the Colts, yeah, we'll see whatever the Colts do. But yeah, the Jaguars, they come in at number 7. I think that's a good spot for them. They nearly won a playoff game, and we'll see if they can, pick up where they left off and not go through the struggles they did at the beginning of the season last year. Number 6, you got the Buffalo Bills. The Bills. Oh, I was contemplating the Bills for a while. I originally had them out of the top 10, then I had them a little bit lower, and then I decided to settle at number 6 because I think it made sense. They were able to knock off the Jaguars in the wild card round. They nearly knocked off the Broncos in the divisional round. And look, listen, the Bills finally went out and got a wide receiver because Terry Bagula, he was not too happy about that interception.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
That press conference sure was something. But yeah, the Bills, I like what they've done in free agency, even though they're taking some big swings that could blow up in their face. Because while they did fire McDermott, and I wasn't feeling super great about that, they brought back Brady. I really like the fact that they got Jim Leonard for that defense. As I mentioned, it just feels like the Bills are going to constantly be competitors. It's just about getting over that hump. And so what they decided to do was make a big-time trade for DJ Moore, who is coming off his worst statistical season, but that is is a huge upgrade for what they have had at wide receiver. I really like Khalil Shakir, and Cooks was really nice for them last year, besides, that whole interception catch thing, but it just feels like they've needed a wide receiver one, and they were willing to pay a premium for him. On top of that, we'll see if Keon Coleman can show up to meetings and also just be that guy, and if he emerges as a good wide receiver, that offense should be really damn good. James Cook had back-to-back fantastic years, and they also took a big old swing by getting Bradley Chubb. If Bradley Chubb is healthy, and I know I've said that a bunch of times this episode, but truly, if Bradley Chubb is healthy, yeah, that's going to be a huge get for the Buffalo Bills. I say this could blow up in their face because DJ Moore is getting a little bit older, not coming off his greatest season. And if Bradley Chubb is unable to take the field, yeah, then this is not really going to work out for the Bills. Apparently, the Bills offered the Dolphins a first-round pick for Jalen Waddle. They didn't want to trade him to a division rival, which makes a whole lot of sense. So again, I have to applaud the Bills for going out and trying to get their guys, and I do think that the pieces they brought in, if everybody's healthy, it should make the Bills a better football team, and this was a team that was a player or two away from going to the AFC Championship game, and it would have been a really interesting game against the Patriots. While they do have to worry about the Pats because they're the defending AFC champions, I feel like if their draft picks from the last couple of seasons and these new free agents are able to step up and also make contributions, the Buffalo Bills are going to continue to be contenders. And so because of that, I got to put them in at number 6. We just got to see if they're going to go all the way this time, which I feel like we've been waiting for a while. Number 5, you got the Denver Broncos. Speaking of the Broncos fans, they were very upset that they didn't do anything in free agency until they woke up and saw their team got Jalen Waddle.
I was just watching you sleep. You look like you're having a crazy dream.
What? I'm young again. Look at you.
Hey,
You want a friend?
Yeah.
You want a friend? Yeah. I'll be friend. I'll be friend. I'll be.
And let me be very clear. I love this trade for the Denver Broncos. Waddle is a phenomenal receiver in the prime of his career. Yes, they gave up a first-round pick, but it's near the end of the first round. It's pick number 30, if I'm not mistaken, and they have needed another dynamic wide receiver to go along with Courtland Sutton. There were times where Troy Franklin was that guy, and that was an interesting ebb and flowing relationship, but now going out and getting Jalen Waddle, like he can be your wide receiver 1, or at the very least, a phenomenal wide receiver 2 behind Courtland Sutton. And while the Broncos did lose some pieces like JFM, they were able to re-sign Dobbins. I know that they wanted to go and get Kenneth Walker, and him going to the Chiefs is not so great, but it feels like that defense is still going to be insanely good, and they just need that offense to pick it up. Their offensive line was really damn good last year, but they needed a tight end, they needed a wide receiver, they needed a consistent run game. If Dobbins is healthy, that consistent run game could definitely be there. And of course, they went and drafted RJ Harvey. We'll see how he does this year. And so if they're able to have that consistent run game that Bo can lean on, and they're able to have these dynamic weapons, yeah, depending on what they do in the draft, I think the Broncos are going to be right there in the conversation. I know Broncos fans were real upset that they weren't doing anything because they were like, hey, we have holes on this squad that need to be filled. Going out and getting Waddle is a big swing, and I really like this for the Broncos. So because of that, I'm putting them in at number 5. Their defense is one of the best in the league. Now let's see if their offense can play catch up. Number 4, you got the Houston Texans. The Texans. Oh, they are an interesting case, aren't they? But the Strouds, if I can keep calling them that, kept adding to their defense during free agency, and now might actually have a run game with David Montgomery. The Texans, as I mentioned, they added a bunch to that defense, including some re-signings like bringing back Danielle Hunter, and it was a very expensive 1-year deal that they brought him back on, but he was so worth it as they were one of the best defenses in the NFL last year. And I just think this signing of David Montgomery is going to pay dividends for the Texans because last year, their run game wasn't so good. Yes, they had Nick Chubb, who in spurts did really well, but Joe Mixon never saw the field last year, and that was kind of a weird injury that we never got any closure about. But going out and getting David Montgomery, a proven running back, I like this a lot for the Texans. And besides their run game, a healthy Nico Collins and hopefully, knock on all the wood, a healthy Tank Dell is going to make that offense significantly better. The real question mark is CJ Stroud, which after his rookie year, I didn't think we'd ever had this conversation, but he struggled last year. You could put a lot of the blame on the offensive line because it was not very good, but there's a lot of blame to also be put on CJ Stroud. And I am rooting for CJ Stroud. I really like him, but his playoffs, they were pretty damn awful. He kept on turning that ball over, and I know they were going up against a very good defense with the Patriots, but man, he was having these issues against the Steelers as well. And when you turn the ball over that many times, now it's a question of, is CJ Stroud our guy? I think that team has all the support staff that you could possibly need to go to the Super Bowl. And hell, they could have won that game against the Patriots if it wasn't for all those turnovers. And they kept it really damn close. And so if CJ Stroud could get back to his rookie season and play at least better and not turn the ball over, I think the Texans are going to be a very good team this year. As I mentioned when I was talking about the Jaguars, I think that's their only real competition, depending on what the Colts decide to do and how much of a step the Titans take. I think they're still rebuilding though. So yeah, the Texans, I'm super high on their defense. I love pieces on their offense if they get healthy. It just comes down to Stroud, and if we can keep on calling you the Strouds. Number 3, you got the New England Patriots. The Patriots coming off a pretty deflating, and I didn't even mean to do that, sorry, loss in the Super Bowl. Drake May has been in the doghouse with Coach Vrabel ever since that not-so-great Super Bowl performance.
Affirmative! Affirmative! Love you.
But the Patriots, they have had an interesting offseason as well. They cut Stephon Diggs, they lost Chason, but they were able to go out and get guys like Draymond Jones, and their big signing being Romeo Doubs. They gave Romeo Doubs a 4-year deal, which was very well earned, and I think Patriots fans are going to love Romeo Doubs. I definitely am going to miss him in Green Bay. But he is going to bring some consistency to that wide receiver core. And while they definitely should still be going out and getting other wide receivers and some offensive line help, listen, the Patriots were able to make it to the Super Bowl last year. And you can say a number of things about them, like people were saying about the Broncos, of like, oh, their schedule, whatever. Listen, the Patriots are going to have a rough schedule this year, and they're going to have to earn it. But that defense was really damn good last year. On top of that, when their run game is on, it is one of the best in the NFL. And Drake May, we're going to have a whole bunch of questions answered about him this upcoming season. I do want the Patriots to definitely get some more protection because, yeah, Drake May was sacked a whole lot in that Super Bowl run. He actually set the record as he was the most sacked quarterback in playoff history. Yay, history. But yeah, the Patriots I still think are a very good football team. We're about to see how for real they are. I think they just need to add some pieces on that offense and they should be just fine. We'll see if they also go out and get another pass rusher. But as of right now, the reigning AFC champs come in at number 3. Number 2, you got the LA Rams. The Rams, oh, their GM was trying so hard to resist trading one of their first round picks. And so now they have Trent McDuffie. Yeah, let's talk about the Rams. The Rams, they making some big time moves here. One, they are paying Trent McDuffie insane amounts of money. Not only going out and getting him, but making him the highest paid corner in NFL history. They already have a good pass rush, and after Matthew Stafford won an MVP last year, it just feels like they are going all in once again. And it makes sense for the Rams. They were a damn good team last year. They did lose LaFleur to the Cardinals, so we'll see how their offense is going to operate this year. But if that run game can be consistent, they of course have the wide receiver weapons in Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, and it just feels like the Rams are going to pick up right where they left off. I think they're going to be favorites in the NFC. They went all the way to the NFC Championship game and had a competitive game with the Seahawks. But during this free agency, they are spending a premium not only with contracts, but also in draft capital. But hey, if it wins them yet another Super Bowl, I don't think they're going to care too much. And I think the Rams have a very good shot of getting there in February. And number 1, you got the reigning, defending Super Bowl champs, the Seattle Seahawks. Because who else could it be? Yes, unfortunately, the Seahawks have lost a bunch of people in free agency. Not only are they losing their offensive coordinator, but they're also losing players too. And unfortunately, Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker had to move on.
So this is it? After all we've been through.
And of course, he had to go to the Chiefs. But not only did they lose K9, they also lost some pieces on the defense. They lost Boy Mafi, they lost Bryant, they lost Woolen. But I still think that they're going to be just fine because this is a team that not only still has some capital, they did make some big re-signings like Shaheed, for example, but it's a pretty young squad as well. And they were able to do this with Sam Darnold in his first year with a Seahawks uniform. Yeah, I think they're going to be just fine. On top of that, their offensive line remains intact. Zach Charbonnet is a great running back. They brought in Emmanuel Wilson from the Packers, who was a great RB2 last year. And as long as that defensive core is still strong, yeah, the Seahawks are going to be contending for yet another Super Bowl. It is going to be a challenge because I think that NFC West division is just... yeah, it's damn competitive. The 49ers should be better. The Rams are coming in at number 2. And so it's going to be tough for the Seahawks to defend that Super Bowl championship. But I just feel like Mike McDonald is that guy. We'll see what they do in the draft if they're able to add some more pieces. But right now, I think it's really tough to bet against the Seahawks in March. And so I'm not gonna. And they're going to stay at number 1. And so just to recap, at number 1, you got the Seahawks, 2 Rams, 3 Patriots, 4 Texans, 5 Broncos, 6 Bills, 7 Jaguars, 8 Chargers, 9 49ers, and 10 Packers. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Apologies if I miss a big-time trade while I am walking around New Zealand, but this is what we got post-free agency. We'll see if there's any craziness when I come back, if there's any big-time trades or acquisitions. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, send me at TomGrossiComedy.com, and a big shout and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.